Have you ever wondered what happens when you use an Ash of War without FP? No, of course you didn't. Who the hell does that? Anyway, what happens is that you lose a lot of damage and the stamina consumption goes through the roof. It's a lot. And your damage is basically weaker than an R1 attack. And on top of that, any Ashes of War that have an elemental effect or a buff will lose that. Hell, some Ashes of War will just have your character scratching their head. So, in this run, I decided to beat the game using only Ashes of War that I can't use. The rules are simple. Rule number 1. Only use Ashes of War without any FP. Rule number 2. Use a different Ash of War against every main boss. So the non-main bosses I can use whatever Ashes of War I want. And that's it, I think. We'll start by creating our character. This time we'll have a returning guest. And that is Sandrocate, Androtate's long-lost brother. And we'll choose the samurai because why not? We'll start by doing the usual prep. We'll go and pick up the physics flask, and while we are here we will go to the tree to get the ground slam Ash of War for later on. Then we will go to Fort Faroth and pick up the Dectus Medallion and Radgon's Soul Seal. From there I remembered that I haven't picked up the first half of the Dectus Medallion, and when I went there I killed the Bloody Knight to get the Bloody Slash. The only missing part from the prep is killing Grail, because I can't do R1s, so I can't bleed her with my katana, and Unsheath will take forever to proc any bleed. So I thought about it until I came to the conclusion that I'm gonna just use the flail and see what happens. And to my surprise, the spinning Ash of War did bleed her. Actually, it did better than R1s. Because we'll be using a lot of Ashes of War, this means that we'll be using different classes of weapons. So a weapon that is already upgraded is preferable. So I'll go to Castle Morn to kill Edgar because he will drop a +8 Banished Knight Halberd. And while we're at it, we'll kill Patches because he drops a +8 spear.
What a shit show.
Okay, I think now it's time to go kill Margit. So let's do it with Unsheath. Then I decided to take the dark path, and I killed Alexander to see if his talisman will boost my damage. It did boost that damage, but it wasn't anything to write home about. It was negligible. Negligible. I hate this word. Anyway, I ended up not using it because it was useless, and Alexander's sacrifice was in vain. Then we'll go after our next target, Godric the Grafted. whom we'll be killing using the Banished Knight Halberd and the Spinning Slash Ash of War.
Return together to our home, bathed in rays of gold.
With Godric defeated, I go back to the Round Table Hall and talk to Roger, who'll give me his weapon, which is already upgraded to +8. He also sells a bunch of Ashes of War, so I buy a Glintstone Pebble from him and go to the Red Wolf of Radigan. The damage is nice, but the animation is way too long, so I didn't find any success. So from there I go back to Stormvale Castle so I can get Storm Assault and equip it to my halberd. Also, while I'm at Limgrave, I will go to Knight Brunal and buy a bunch of Ashes of War from him. Oh, and I almost forgot. I also go and pick up the Wet Knife so I can equip Storm Assault or any Ash of War without going back to the Round Table. And with Storm Assault equipped, I decimate the Red Wolf. Then we go after Renala. I thought I'm going to use her spinny magic against her, which worked in the first phase, but in the second, she showed me who the real mistress is. Mistress or master? I don't know. So, I go to collect some bell bearing 1 and 2 to be specific, and I change the Ash of War in Roger's rapier to repeating thrusts, which is the default, but for some reason it has another one equipped. Anyway, this plan works perfectly. Next comes the Draconic Tree Sentinel. At first I decided to use a Spinning Slash at him, but it didn't work. So I got Bloodblade, and it also didn't work. So I went with another Ash of War that is fast and damaging, and that is Blade Dance, and it worked wonderfully. Then comes the Shade of Godfrey, whom I actually kill using Spinning Slash. Yeah, there's nothing special here, so go on. I was planning to use Flames of the Redmanes against Morgoth. However, according to the thumbnail of this video, I can't use it. Which is true, because it's literally unusable. You won't deal any damage. So, I decided to use Stormcaller. But of course, it was shit. Just like in my Storms only run. It was shit back then, and it's shit now. With that, I decided to go and get Giza's wheel. Thinking to myself, I'm gonna shackle him, then bleed his ass. However, it was at this moment that I realized that holdable Ashes of War need FP to be holdable. So yeah, it was useless. So I went with the next option, which is Great Stars. I thought to myself I'm gonna need it for the bleed, but spoilers alert, it doesn't bleed anything. But the HP regeneration is nice. Morgoth was being an asshole, so it's time for the death montage. Is the montage over? Yeah, I think it's over. Anyway, after that, I went to get one of the most iconic weapons with one of the strongest Ashes of War, and that is Bloodhound Fang and Bloodhound Finesse. Oh, my voice cracked. I also went to get the Blue Dancer's Charm, and I killed a few bosses. Some of them are Ghost Loretta because I need her Ash of War, and I killed Sewer Morg because I need to get to the depths. I killed them both using Prayerful Strike or whatever it's called because both are inferior and unique versions, so they are not key bosses. You know what I mean? Once I gain access to the mountaintops of giants, I go and kill Eleonora to get her pole plate and the physics steer. Then I go and kill Okina to get Rivers of Blood, because of course, this video wouldn't be about Ashes of War without Corpse Piler. Before we go after the fire giant, I will kill a few bosses. First, Radan, whom I take down using the stamp upward cut. I still find it weird how they decided to separate Stamp from Dark Souls 3 into 2 Ashes of War. Now that we've gotten access to Nokron, I will go and get the Nox Flowing Hammer, which, by the way, I have 2,000 hours in this game, and this is the first time I pick this weapon up. Because I really needed it against the fucking assholes, Fia's champions. They were a pain in the ass, especially Lionel. Anyway, I kill them, and then I go for Fourth Sax, whom I decided to kill using the Bloody Slash because I thought I'm gonna get bleed, but of course I couldn't get it. After them, I go after Estelle, AAA, using the Ass Slam Ash of War because Estelle, Ass Slam, get it? Anyway, I sit on his face and kill him. For the Fire Giant, I went to get Double Slash, and I infused my katana with the bleed affinity to get as much bleed as possible. Because I'm not going to fight this guy with a shitty Ash of War that deals no damage, so the bleed is necessary. I did this early on in the run, but it doesn't become relevant until now, and that is getting the Opaline Heart tier for the Godskin duel, whom I thought would be hard, but turns out they weren't. Why? Because they were facing Rivers of Blood and Corpse Piler, so I took them down without a lot of trouble. After them comes Malekith, who was of course a pain in the ass. He got me a few times, some of them were utter and complete bullshit, like this one where he teleported behind me, but some of them were not. Anyway, after a few deaths and multiple Ashes of War, I settled down with the Cursed Blood Slice, the weapon skill of Morgoth's Cursed Blade, because it has this lunge forward, which is really helpful against Malekith, since he jumps around a lot. Then comes the Dragon Lord Placidusax. I decided to take him on using Stormcaller because he's somewhat slow and his openings are very long. And it took some time to get used to finding the openings, but I managed to take him down. And by the way, this one single attempt took 20 minutes. That's how shitty Stormcaller is.
"20 minutes later."
Next comes Commander Niall. I took him down using Charge Forth, which is the default skill of the spear we got from patches. With a boss like this who decides to gank you and uses a lot of AoEs, a weapon that has long range and an Ash of War that basically goes through the entire room is kinda necessary. I've got the Veteran's Prosthesis from Niall, so I decided to take it for a spin against Moog, the Lord of Blood. And to my surprise, the weapon skill, Storm Kick, did deal a lot of damage. Even without FP, it hits like a truck. Actually, I did some testing later on, and I think I discovered a bug with this weapon. If you have absolutely 0 FP, the second hit won't hit as hard, and it won't have any lightning effects. However, if you have a small amount of FP, it will hit really hard, and you will have lightning. And it also won't consume the remaining FP you have. So yeah, I think we discovered a really good bug. Yay! Then comes Gideon Ofnir, the all-knowing. I decided to beat the shit out of him using the Giant's Red Blade, because of the Flame Dance Ash of War. Since Gideon is a dodgy piece of shit, who will keep dodging and then one-shotting me from a distance, thank you FromSoft. I thought to myself that an Ash of War that hits multiple times and have a long range will do its work properly, which it did, and I obviously beat the shit out of him. I whooped his ass, or whipped his ass. I go and kill the Misbegotten Warrior and the Crucible Knight team, because they have the ruined Greatsword, which have a busted skill even without FP, and that is Wave of Destruction. Because then comes the Regal Ancestral Spirit. Now you might think to yourself, why did he save one of the easiest bosses until the end of the run? Well, the answer is I didn't save him. I actually tried killing him multiple times and I failed. This piece of shit will just keep healing and healing and healing, and I thought that the animals he uses for healing will end at some point. But no, they just keep respawning and respawning and respawning ad infinitum. Up next is Loretta, Knight of the Halleck Tree, whom will be taken down using Loretta's Slash. Now don't, and I repeat, don't use the magic affinity when using this Ash of War, because the damage is already shit and you don't want to make it even shittier. If you wanted to see me bodied by Millennia, well, think again, because that isn't gonna happen. Because I have a plan, and that is to go and get the short bow for the barrage skill, and get the cookbook that allows me to craft bleed arrows, and the cookbook that allows me to craft frost arrows. This way, I'll just beat her using status ailments and stuff like that. Or so I thought, because the reality was different. It turns out that FromSoft had this in mind, and the barrage skill will not proc any ailments as long as you don't have FP. So no matter how many arrows you shoot, it won't be effective. Normally it takes like 8 arrows or something like that for a status to proc, but now I shot like 30 arrows and nothing happened. Good players like Star or Chris can no-hit 10 Millennials, but I'm not good, so I had to strategize, but unfortunately my first strategy failed. So now I had to think again, and I decided to try the Eleonora Pole Blade. The damage was really nice, like actually it was so good, but the stamina consumption was through the roof. Doing this Ash of War twice in a row will leave you gasping for air. So I had to think again after the Eleonora failed, and I decided to go and get Giant's Hunt. Once again, the damage was really nice, like 500 is nothing to sneeze about. But unfortunately, the time it takes to attack is too long, the animation is too long, and the range is a bit too short. So this plan failed as well. After that I had to think really hard and squeeze my brain as much as possible and squeeze and squeeze and squeeze. I squeezed so hard, my forehead caved in. Okay, that was a bad joke. Anyway, after squeezing, I remembered something. One ash of war that I tend to forget or mix it with another, and also most people forget about it. And that is Piercing Fang, the ash of war on Yura's katana. I go and grab it now because we've already skipped his quest line. He drops it for us. The damage on Piercing Fang was nice, but I needed more. So, remember how in the beginning I tried to freeze her and bleed her? Well, I'm gonna do that, but with a melee weapon this time. To do that, I'm gonna need to duplicate the Piercing Fang. So I go and buy a Lost Ash of War from any merchant, and I go to the blacksmith to duplicate it. Then I equip it on my spear, and put the freezing affinity on the spear, and the bleed affinity on the halberd. And voila, we have a strategy. Freeze for the first phase, bleed for the second phase. Next comes Horalu, and for him I decided to use an Ash of War that is exclusive to the straight swords, and that is Square Off. You can use it on any sword you want, it's basically the default skill for straight swords, but I decided to go with the broadsword, because I got it from the same merchant who sells the short bow.
Thy strength befits same crown.
Now it's time for the final boss, Radagon and the Elden Beast. These guys killed me so many times, I might as well just do another death montage. But lucky for you, I'm too lazy to do it. For them, I decided to use Lion's Claw because it deals a shit ton of damage. But unfortunately, it takes a lot of time to do and the recovery time is very long. Because my Lion's Claw plans failed, I started thinking to myself, what is an Ash of War / weapon that is very iconic in this game and that everyone likes? What is an Ash of War / weapon that will be fitting for the end of this run? No, it's not the Sword of Night and Flame. That thing can barely kill a giant rat. It's Transient Moonlight, the weapon skill of the Moonveil Katana. Remember how when the game first came out, everyone was using this weapon? Yeah, that's right. So this Ash of War / weapon checks all the boxes. Iconic? Check. Really strong? Check. I started the game with Unsheath, so I must end it with a skill that looks like Unsheath? Check. So yeah, I decided to use this weapon, I mean this skill, and yeah, that's it, I think. Nothing more to say. Okay, we come to the end of the video. But you didn't kill Rykart. Fine, I'm gonna go to him and see what's going to happen with the Serpent Hunter. So I go kill the fairy with the lion's claw, yada yada yada, and get to Rykart.